and the Milwaukee Redevelopment Commission Budget Committee to order. The meeting's being held in person. The public is invited to watch live on the city's YouTube channel, Comcast Cable Channel 30 in the city limits, or via Zoom using the link on the meeting webpage. There will be opportunities for the public to speak during the community comment time. Written comments may be submitted by email to finance@milwaukeeoregon.gov. When it's time to make public comments, staff will monitor the comment cards and email inbox. We will listen to comments in the order they are received and seen. Spanish translation services are available upon request. The public is asked to request translation services at least 48 hours before the meeting. And translation services are also available in other languages. We'll begin with introductions, starting with me, Leslie Shockner, Budget Committee Chair and Community Member, and to my right.
Councilor Adam Costerbody, City Council.
William Johnson, Community Member.
Will Anderson, City Councilor.
Carrie Schumacher, Community Member.
Robert Massey, City Council.
Lisa Beatty, Mayor.
Okay. Staff?
Michael Osborne, Finance Director.
Thank you. We'll begin. The next order of business is approval of the Budget Committee minutes. Does anyone have any comments or corrections to the Budget Committee minutes from the meeting on April 25th, 2026? Okay, if there are no comments or edits, I will entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes from April 25th, 2026 Budget Committee meeting.
I motion to approve those minutes.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from the May, so I guess it's time for a vote. Any other comments? No? All in favor say aye.
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 I believe that's unanimous. All in favor, and then there are no no's. So now we're going to move on to adopting the minutes of the May 2nd Milwaukee Redevelopment Commission and Budget Committee. Does anyone have any edits, comments? Whatever. I would like to say that I do find some grammatical things in there, and I've already talked about making those kind of edits so that we have a little bit clearer reading, and I've talked about doing that, and so I am putting it forward that I'm going to make some grammatical corrections. Having said that, there will be no change in the meaning. And does anybody else have an objection to my doing that?
We're noting those as Scribner's errors.
Okay. Anybody have any comment? No comments. Can I hear motion?
I motion to approve those minutes.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, moving on. At this time, the minutes are adopted. At this time, we will open the meeting up to any community members that would like to discuss any city business with the committee. Those wishing to speak that are not at City Hall, please email finance@milwaukeeoregon.gov or raise your hand in Zoom by dialing the *9 to raise your hand. You can also write a comment in the Zoom chat to indicate you would like to speak. Before you make your comment, please state your name and city of residence for the record. If you'd like the city to follow up with you, please submit your contact information to finance@milwaukeeoregon.gov. Speakers will be limited to 3 minutes each because of the information provided during community comments. Because that may be new, staff will respond at the next committee meeting to those comments that require a follow-up. Are there any community members here to speak?
There are no email comments. There are no comments on Zoom, and I don't believe we have anybody in attendance.
Okay, then I think we can move on We're now going to have the West State of the District, the Deputy Director of Clackamas Water Environmental Services, Ron Wierenga, did I say that right? Will provide a district update.
Well, good evening, Mayor Beatty, councilors, members of the Budget Committee. My name is Ron Wierenga. I'm the Deputy Director of Water and Environment Services, and I have with me Erin Blue. She's our Finance Manager for WES. And we're here to present WES's annual 2025 report to you for the work that we do and our partnership with the city. And also, Erin will share updates on our customer assistance program after I go through the annual report for the district. So let's get started. Next slide. So Water Environment Services is a clean water utility providing wastewater and stormwater services in Clackamas County. As our mission notes, it's our job to protect public health and the vitality of our communities, natural environment, and economy. And our vision is to be a collaborative partner in a clean water future for people and our rivers. Next slide. WES, Water Environment Services, as we call it, is a regional utility. And that's important to know. This is a map of our service area where we serve 7 cities and the unincorporated urbanized portion of the county, from Milwaukee east to Happy Valley, and then south encompassing Gladstone, Oregon City, West Lynn, and the Stafford area. For our Kellogg Creek facility, we're at spot number 1 on the top left portion of the map, our facility in Milwaukee. Next. I want to start off by saying we really like our regional wastewater treatment plants, so we want to introduce you to our 2 facilities. These are their baby pictures. This is the Kellogg Creek
Wow.
in Milwaukee on the left and Tri-City in Oregon City on the right. When they were originally constructed in 1974 and 1985, respectively. Next slide.
No trees.
That was a while ago. And here they are all grown up. Between our 5 wastewater treatment facilities, we clean about 7 billion gallons of wastewater every year. Next slide.
You said 5 facilities, but you only showed 2. Are there others? Are there others besides the 2 that you showed?
Yes, there are our 2 regional facilities here in Milwaukee and then 1 in Oregon City. We also operate a wastewater treatment plant in Welch's that serves the Mount Hood area, and then 1 in Boring, and then 1 outside of Oregon City, a small community wastewater facility. So in total, we have 5.
Okay. Are those ones that we brought into your district over time? Is that?
Over time, yeah, the history for each of them is somewhat unique, but over time, those were facilities that, for one reason or another, the county was asked to take them over.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. So looking at WES by the numbers, in addition to our 5 wastewater recovery facilities, we operate and maintain 23 regional pumping stations, more than 600 miles of sewer and stormwater pipe, and nearly 20,000 stormwater structures. We have a dedicated staff of 121 employees who make that work possible, serving a community of about 200,000 people on an annual budget of $225 million and a $264 million capital improvement plan. A little background for context today, WES was originally began as 3 separate service districts, which were established in the 1960s and 1990s and all managed under 1 county department. In 2016, the 3 districts formed an intergovernmental entity through RS 190, an agreement that now allows us to operate as 1 happy mid-sized stormwater utility. We're also a component unit of Clackamas County, and practically that means that the county board is our board, and we receive some internal and central services from the county. That's our relationship with the county. Next slide. So as I said, the Clackamas County Commissioners serve as WES's governing board of directors in a separate capacity. We have a 20-member advisory committee that advises the board, and that includes ratepayers, environmental representatives, business owners, members of the development community, and elected officials from cities we serve. We have 4 West Advisory Committee members that live in Milwaukee: Councilor Khosrowbadi, ratepayer Anthony Fields, an environmental representative Colleen Rockwell, and Christina Brow in the business owner and manager seat on our advisory committee.
That's 4 out of how many? I was trying to think.
20, around 20. Next slide. Wes is committed to reasonable and predictable rates for the services that we provide. We have a long-range financial plan and a long-range financial model that we use as a tool to manage our budget and our capital and strategic plans. Wes's board is supportive of incremental steady rate adjustments over time to avoid rate shock that many utilities are seeing today. For Milwaukee customers who pay our wastewater treatment rate only to Wes, that has held steady for the last 5 years due to a phase out of a legacy debt component of Rate Zone 2's wastewater treatment rate, and the phase out is on track to be completed by 2030 fiscal year 2030-31. So while the treatment rate component has increased about 5% each year, the reduction in debt service has offset that increase, and the rates for Milwaukee residents has remained steady.
When that is gone, will there be a huge jump?
No, there won't. When the debt service is paid off, then the wastewater treatment rate will be the same as our other cities that we serve, and we'll adjust that over time. But we're doing everything we can do to manage those significant rate increases that I mentioned previously.
I guess another way of asking my question is, are the Milwaukee rates lower than the rates in the other part of the district right now because of the subsidy?
No, they're higher because of the debt service component that is
Okay.
added to the treatment rate, but they've been held flat because that debt service is decreasing over time. So in 2030-31, the wastewater treatment rate from Milwaukee will be the same as Oregon City, Westland, Gladstone, the other cities where we provide wastewater treatment only.
And will our rate then go down instead of up?
I don't think so.
Not currently. The current projection is for 5% rate increases district-wide after that in each component of our rate. But that is contingent upon a lot of things that haven't happened yet, so we update every year.
Next slide. So West's rates for wastewater and stormwater services comparatively are below the regional averages shown on this slide. This chart provides some rate comparisons regionally. There's a dashed line. This is for wastewater services only, and the dashed line is the regional rate for wastewater collection and treatment. On this chart, Milwaukee is third over from the right and shows slightly above the regional average of $63.56 a month. That rate comprises both the West treatment and the city's wastewater collection component, but it's right about at the regional average.
So both Gladstone and Oregon City have a more expensive, no, they don't. They have, the dark blue is their collection and okay. So they have a
That's
more
correct.
expensive collection bill
That's correct.
and a lower treatment bill.
And the green portion, which is the treatment rate on the bottom of the bars, and the one shown from Milwaukee is slightly higher than Westland, Gladstone, Oregon City because of that debt service component, which will go away eventually. And our rates will be harmonized for the services people receive. Next slide. I can keep going. You'll see it eventually. So I want to note that Wes is in an outstanding financial position. We have a AAA bond rating. We have a weighted average cost of debt of about 1.52%. We have 146 days of operating reserves, and we have significant capital reserves to do the work that we need to do. and we've routinely earned GFOA audit and budget awards for our budget document and our audit. Recently, we've completed a popular annual financial report for fiscal year 2025. It was part of our strategic plan to add that component to our budget story, which provides an easily understandable way an easily digestible way to understand West's finances and our budget. That report's on our website, and you can see that. And we just learned recently that we got a GFOA award for the popular annual financial report too, so we're really proud of that. Next slide. So I wanted to note a project at our Kellogg Creek facility that we're currently doing to remodel our administration building. Because we have limited space on our Kellogg Creek site, which is needed for additional treatment works, we need to move our staff locations from across the facility into the building. And the building's also 50 years old, so desperately needs updating. Construction on our admin building remodel started in April 2026. It'll take approximately 10 months to complete. The upgraded facility will include a community room that we're building into the new building with space for up to 25 people, which will be a good community asset. And we'll host an open house in the new year when the work is complete. Next slide. This just gives you a peek of what's going on inside. We want to thank the city for being a partner on this project and help us make these much needed improvements. It's been a great relationship to get it done. Next. Another project that is key to reliable operations at our Kellogg Creek facility is our intertie pump station. This pump station is located up around off of 224, kind of around Lowe's and the CarMax area. It diverts wastewater from the Kellogg Creek facility down to our Tri-City facility in Oregon City, where there's more capacity to treat those wastewater flows. So it takes pressure off of the Kellogg Creek facility, which is really important for adequate treatment, protecting public health and reliability. The pump station was built around 2010 and was built to be expanded as the area upstream of there grows, and it's now almost at full capacity. So we're finishing up that project now. It includes a new pump station as well as new pressurized pipe or force main that goes down to the Tri-City facility. By the end of this month, all the new pipes will be in the ground. The pump station is done and paving will continue through the fall. This was about a $25 million project. That's a key part of our regional master plan for the area.
So this pump station was anticipated to be expanded when there was development to the east of, out into East Clackamas County?
That's right.
Is that where that flow is coming from?
Yeah, upstream of there is mostly East Clackamas County. Some areas around Clackamas Town Center and areas like that go through this pump station. But it was built with additional capacity in mind at the pump station, as well as some of the segments of the force main were laid with the first project, but we needed to add the additional pipes to make it a complete system and divert those flows.
Thank you.
Yep.
Is a project like this paid for out of SDCs or out of rates?
A combination of both, but mostly SDC funded.
And so it's primarily sort of Happy Valley's SDCs.
That's
the
right.
big bulk of it.
In large part, but there's also a component that our collection systems between our two districts that existed previously are connected through that intertie, and it gives us the ability to direct wastewater flow to where it makes the most sense operationally for us. So it definitely provides an operational benefit for Kellogg that we can divert anything upstream of there away from it if we have any issues or if we're doing construction projects. So it just gives us another tool in the toolbox.
But it doesn't take, there's no capacity to put water back out east. It's all what flows down, right?
That's right, yeah. Next slide. Another accomplishment this past year was the completion of our Tri-City outfall project. We have a new 90-inch outfall pipe to the Willamette River that, when paired with our existing outfall, will accommodate anticipated flows at that facility through the year 2080. This was a near $60 million project that was completed on time and on budget. We're really proud of that. And the new outfall went into service in December 2025. So this project was a long time coming and it's done now. So we're really, really happy about that. Next slide. Last year, we hosted a groundbreaking event in September for our Three Creeks floodplain project that will help us naturally attenuate flood events on the property, the 90-acre natural area that we own, and then downstream in Kellogg Creek. We appreciate having Mayor Beatty there for that special event. Construction began during the in-water work period last summer in 2025 and completing the first set of structures to help put the water out onto the floodplain and reduce those flood flows. This spring, we hosted walking tours. We did a volunteer amphibian egg mass survey out there, and we hosted a bio blitz on site. Right now, there's no public access during construction for safety, but afterwards, we'll have a conversation about recreational use of the site. In-stream work continues this summer and is scheduled to be complete by early fall, and then we'll do a significant planting effort over the winter, and then the project will be done.
Is this the piece of land that at one point the county wanted to put the Sunnybrook Road through?
I believe so, yeah. There was a route through there,
Okay.
which
thank
is
you.
not a plan anymore.
Right. I think that Milwaukee was fairly instrumental in.
Yes, neighbors on the east side of Milwaukee in particular are
Yes.
very vocal at coming out to county meetings about that idea of building the road through there, for sure. And former Mayor Mark Gamba was definitely a big. So I'm glad to hear that it's all going well. I guess I had heard a few months after that groundbreaking that I went to that the contractor had been stopped or something was stopped there, but it's all moving forward.
It's definitely moving. We have had some of our challenges like you usually do with a project of this scale, and especially when we're working in streams and when trying to build natural or green infrastructure. But we are still moving and hopeful that we get to where we need to be by the close of the in-water work window this year.
Okay, great.
Next slide. So as I mentioned before, being a collaborative partner is our vision for WES, which looks like partnering with events and community groups. Last month, we hosted the Danda Marimba Band for Porch Fest at Kellogg Creek. This was our third year hosting, and it's become a summer tradition for us and our staff too. We will support the Little Float with the Downtown Alliance of Milwaukee coming up in August by providing funds to provide porta potties for the event. This is a way that it helps us because it's a way that we get our educational messages out to people about clean water and what they can do to help us make clean water and healthy watersheds in the future. So there will be some signage and things like that around on the porta potties, like our 3P sign on the doors, et cetera. You may have also seen us at the winter solstice event or the Being in the New Year event. We're participants in that as well. And we're also involved in the work the Rotary Club of Milwaukee is doing. So we take our partnership seriously and especially in our host cities. And I think we're doing a lot in that area. Next slide. We've been sponsoring with Sol the Summer Waterway Cleanup Series in the county for almost 10 years now. And this year we're excited to partner with the historic Milwaukee Neighborhood District Association on a downtown cleanup event starting at Milwaukee Bay Park on Wednesday, August 19th from 10 a.m. to noon. Cleanups like this are important because if not removed, trash on the ground can end up in our waterways carried by stormwater to our rivers, creeks, and streams. And it also builds awareness for people that, you know, what goes on the ground goes in the water. So it's a good educational opportunity as well. So that's a great partnership that we're continuing. And then one more, next slide.
I'm kind of looking at Alexa because she maybe knows this answer, but I looked at that event maybe a week ago and it was almost half subscribed. Do you know, are there still slots for people to sign up? There's still slots. Okay.
Yeah, there's
great.
still availability for people to sign up.
Okay, great.
And so lastly, if you haven't toured Kellogg Creek, our facility before, we'd be happy to host you in the new year once we've wrapped up construction. Alexa Morris can help connect with you for a tour if you'd like to do that. We look forward to welcoming you and the community in the new year to our new administrative space. So we'll let you know when we have our open house. And that was it for me on the annual report for West. Next, I can turn it over to Erin Blue, who's going to talk to you about our customer assistance program, unless you have any questions for me.
Are there any questions for Ron before we move ahead? All right.
We sort of did it
As
as
we
we went
went.
along.
That's great. Keep it timely. Thank you.
All right. First, I want to mention that we had a community comment card came in. And I'm going to introduce Erin first, and then with the chair's permission, following Erin's presentation, we can have her come up and speak. If that's all right with you, Leslie? Okay,
Yeah.
great.
You're saying that we're going to let Erin not just be introduced, but speak, present,
Yes.
and then we will do this.
Yes, correct.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Budget Committee. As part of the council goal on affordability, staff are reviewing the Utility Assistance Program, which we call the UAP, in preparation for 2027. As part of your budget packet, I included a memorandum on how we are currently administering the program and gave data on the program and our thresholds. Earlier this year, Erin and I met. Erin's my counterpart with Wes. And went over what they're doing for affordability goals, and they are far ahead of where I am. So with that, we are going to ask you guys to think during the presentation, think about strategies or things that you would like staff to explore as we're going through and looking at the UAP program for fiscal year 2027. So I'm going to hand it over to Erin now. She's going to do her presentation. We're going to get comments, and then we're going to circle back to you guys for what kind of things are you looking for staff to explore as we're looking into next year.
Great, thank you, Michael. I'm excited to be here tonight to share progress on an initiative that Wes has been working on to update our own customer assistance program. Next slide, please. So our overall goal is to maintain affordable rates for everyone that we serve. And the framework you see on this slide was created by the Environmental Financial Advisory Board Water Affordability Work Group last year to highlight the importance of addressing affordability throughout a utility's decision-making process. We're sharing this with you tonight because we've found this helpful in our own internal discussions and in communicating with our customers about what WIS is doing in order to promote affordability. This graphic really illustrates that affordability is more about how a utility is run than any particular program. And the actions and decisions that have the greatest impact are those that help us maintain objectively affordable rates for everyone that we serve, including how we finance capital investments and the timing of our project delivery, controlling our operations and maintenance expenses through actions such as reducing our energy use and practicing proactive rather than reactive asset management, leveraging external and low-cost financing in the form of federal support such as grants and state support such as the State Revolving Fund Loan Program, and designing rate structures that are based on the cost of service, maintaining separate models for stormwater and wastewater rates to avoid cross-subsidization, and ensuring cost recovery for other fees and fines. Customer assistance programs are one part of this overall framework that specifically helps us address affordability for households in need. And that'll be the main content of this talk tonight. But we have found that the other areas of the framework are really important for us to address as well. Next slide, please. So I'll start by giving you some background on where we started. We kicked this project off in March of 2025, so we're more than a year in at this point, and we've been working on an intentionally long timeline because we're putting a lot of thought into this update, and we wanted to build in time for input from our city partners, including the City of Milwaukee, as well as other stakeholders. During the research and planning phase, we looked into best practices and existing programs in place at other utilities and identified primary challenges and opportunities with our current program. That research was used to create a draft program, which was reviewed by our county council and then revised based on their input. We met with teams from each of our city partners for their input in late 2025. And thank you, Michael, for your time there. That was really valuable. We also met with County Social Services and a representative from St. Vincent de Paul to get their perspective. Their feedback was then incorporated into a draft program, which was presented to our advisory committee in November and then our board in December of 2025 for approval to move forward. We have been targeting January 2026 for implementation, but we're finding that some components of our program are taking longer to work through. So we're now currently in the implementation phase and looking to go live in October of this year. Next slide, please. Our customer assistance program includes a handful of different components. However, the income qualified bill discount, or IQBD, is the most significant element of our program. The current IQBD is a 50% discount that applies only to the wastewater portion of the bill. Enrollment is at about 650 households, including 250 in rate zone 2 who are directly billed by WES and 400 in rate zone 1 that are billed by our city partners. Funding is entirely through sewer user charges, and at existing enrollment levels, the annual cost is $160,000 or about 15 cents per month per household. 650 households translates into less than 1% enrollment for us, so we know that our current program is underutilized. While we don't know exactly what enrollment should be, our best guess is that somewhere between 6% and 12% of households in our service area qualify. And that's based on knowing that 6% of households are enrolled in PGE's Income Qualified Bill Discount Program in our service area, and Oregon State's estimate that more than 12% of households in Clackamas County qualify for energy assistance. Limited eligibility and access to the program is our biggest challenge, and we're not alone here. I think this is maybe also an issue for the city. It's a common issue for most water utilities who don't directly bill customers. Like many other water utilities, our current discount is only available to residential accounts that are billed to the property owner. So it's not available to renters or multifamily households, which the state indicates make up as many as 75% of the households who qualify for energy assistance. So that's a huge gap with our current program. In meeting with our city partners, we had a chance to dig into our existing intergovernmental agreements and identified another challenge in the form of inconsistent terms in our IGAs. For the pass-through WES's discount. Another challenge is that a study from 2021 found that most utility-led water assistance programs only reach 10 to 15% of eligible households. A large part of that underutilization is the eligibility challenges that we already discussed around renters and multifamily, but we also identified some other factors that we think are contributing to low utilization that we're working to address. And then lastly, on our list of key challenges, the state of Oregon doesn't explicitly address customer assistance programs funded by ratepayer revenues, which creates the potential for programs to be challenged. So a major part of this initiative is for us to try to find actions we can take to make the program more accessible to those households in need, in addition to addressing these other challenges. Next slide, please. So what potential actions have we come up with? From our research, we learned that a potential barrier to enrollment could be as simple as what we call the program. We're seeing a transition among customer assistance programs to the term income qualified. So we rebranded program as an income qualified discount from a low income discount to avoid any potential stigma there. We're broadening the type of assistance offered to include emergency and crisis bill assistance for households in immediate need, as well as late fee waivers and forgiveness to help households get caught up and stay caught up with their account balances. Referrals to other programs is a no cost yet high impact element that we're adding, which is an idea that we got from our city partners when we met with them. Another barrier to utilization the new program is working to address is the time tax that's associated with enrollment, which is a common issue for nearly all customer assistance programs. Households have to learn about the program, they have to take the time to apply, wait for approval, and then periodically reapply. And that can all be a lot to manage for a household that's just struggling to make ends meet. We think extending the enrollment period to 2 years will reduce the amount of paperwork required by our customers, along with reducing our own staff's effort to administer the program. So it's a win-win there. As mentioned, providing assistance to renters and multifamily households that aren't directly billed is a challenge for WES, as well as many other water utilities, since we don't have a direct relationship with those households. Best practices for customer assistance programs to address that challenge involve data sharing agreements and partnerships with other utilities and non-utility assistance programs that do have direct relationships with those households. Earlier last year, we connected with the manager of Portland General Electric's Income Qualified Bill Discount Program, and we are now in the final stages of an agreement with PGE to include Wes's discount on the electricity bill for renters and multifamily households. This is probably the single largest change of this program update that will have the biggest impact.
I have a question. I'm unclear. Are you saying that currently the program does not give a discount to renters of single-family homes?
That's correct, because Wes isn't able to disconnect service for non-payment since we only bill for wastewater services. We have to set the accounts up under the property owner's name. So we aren't able to give the discount to anyone that we don't directly bill, which would be those renters and multifamily households.
So the fact that the city of Milwaukee has individual accounts doesn't have any effect on the way your program runs?
I'm not sure how Milwaukee is setting up accounts. I think you guys may also.
We bill sewer to renters in single-family homes, right?
It depends on how the account is set up.
Yeah, it's between the landlord and the tenant, right?
Yes.
Whose name it's in. So sometimes it's in the landlord's name, sometimes it's in the tenant's name.
Okay, I didn't know that.
But I'd like to understand a little bit more about what it is PGE is going to actually do in this pilot. They're going to bill for you?
No.
Okay.
A good question. So the agreement would work. We're going to maintain confidentiality of customers' information. PGE isn't disclosing any customer information to Wes. What they've agreed to do is provide addresses of customers who receive their discount program. So we know they qualify for Wes's program, for us to distribute collateral through a third-party mailer and let them know, hey, this is an opportunity, apply for Wes's program. If someone applies, Wes would then provide PGE with the amount to discount their bill. So the electricity bill would be discounted by Wes's discount amount. We'd still be collecting the full amount of Wes's services from the landlord or the property owner. We'd just be passing through the discount to the renter or the occupant of that household through the electricity bill. So it's a way to reach those households in need without having a lot of involved landlord-tenant agreements, which could be very administratively burdensome.
And do you, this is going to be in the sort of unincorporated areas, or is it also going to be in the cities?
Yes, for now, just the unincorporated areas, the areas that Wes bills directly. So we don't quite know how this is going to go. PGE has graciously agreed to pilot this with us so that we can kind of test what the administrative burden would be like for both of our organizations. So it's a one-year pilot, and I hope to report back on how successful it is after a year.
Thank you.
Yeah, great questions.
Can I clarify? So does PGE offer different income eligibility for their affordability programs, or is the same eligibility? It's just they're able to capture renters somehow because renters are directly billing with PGE?
Yes, exactly. So a lot of renters are still billed directly for electricity services because properties are individually metered. A lot of those multifamily properties might have one or maybe a handful of water meters. So even if we wanted to bill individual households separately, we couldn't because we don't have that information to do so. So PGE does have greater granularity in their accounts that would allow them to extend the discount in areas that we aren't able to.
And I guess the two things that this makes me think of, if someone has their utilities wrapped up in their rental costs, it wouldn't necessarily be passed on to them. So there are still some renters who wouldn't receive this benefit.
That's correct.
Okay.
If electricity is part of the rent, we wouldn't
And
be
is
able
that, you talk about multifamily households. Imagine someone's got a grandma living in an ADU in the backyard, or maybe a grandma's a bad example, but a low-income tenant in an ADU in the backyard. Are those typically billed separately for their power usage? And would this be an opportunity to pass on those discounts to that person? Or is that slightly different than what you're describing here?
If they had separate meters, I do think they would be billed separately, but if they're on a shared meter, they may not. So that is a potential gap that this program change doesn't necessarily address.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank
Good
you.
question. We're also exploring opportunities for auto enrollment, which would involve a data sharing agreement with another agency that administers assistance programs, such as the Oregon State Department of Human Services, who administers LIHEAP, or County Social Services, where they could identify eligible households, just let us know who those folks are, and then we could auto enroll them in Wes's discount without them even needing to apply. Next slide, please. We completed an analysis to see how WES's eligibility thresholds compare to other assistance programs, and part of that is what's shown here. Our new program maintains our current threshold of 60% of state median income, and there are a couple of advantages to that selection. The first is that that's the threshold that LIHEAP, or the Low Income Heating and Energy Assistance Program, uses. So it allows us to establish categorical eligibility. Anyone who qualifies for LIHEAP qualifies for WES's program. So another attempt at lessening the burden of households to have to apply for multiple programs. The second, on this chart, the darker kind of green shaded cells in the columns denote the highest income threshold for that household size. And as you can see, the 60% state median income has the highest thresholds for household sizes of 3 to 6 occupants. So we feel like that's also among the most broadly accepted income thresholds there are. That's one of the more generous. So it enables us to maintain categorical eligibility with any other threshold that's listed on this slide. So WIC program, women, infants, and children, or a supplemental security income, housing choice voucher program, we're able to automatically be categorically eligible with WES's program. So that's an advantage there. Next slide, please. As shared earlier, our current program is significantly underutilized, so we haven't really had to focus on funding sources in the past, but because we're working to expand enrollment, we're also working to address the cost. And to limit the impact on all ratepayers, WES's new program is capping the rate-funded portion at 0.5% of budgeted rate revenues, which provides about $280,000 of funding annually at a household cost of 26 cents per month. After discussions with County Council, the household cost per month is not, but the top line on the right-hand side is the rate revenues capped at 0.5%. We worked with County Council too to add in non-rate revenues as a funding source, and that would consist primarily of late fees. And those are expected to generate an additional $150,000 a year for total program funding estimated at about $430,000 a year. We'll be exploring a donation or voluntary roundup program as part of phase 2 and are on alert for any external or federal funding that may become available for customer assistance. Because Oregon statute is silent on rate-funded customer assistance programs, and we wanted to ensure that WES's program is legally defensible, we worked with our council to justify our program based on a business case. The rationale being that when more customers can pay their bill, they do pay their bill, and that reduces the cost and the staff time to deal with delinquent accounts, which benefits all ratepayers. Updated IGAs with our city partners are needed to ensure consistent terms and replace outdated language. I'll talk a little bit more about that on an upcoming slide. Our discount has traditionally only been on the sewer portion of the bill. We're proposing to extend that to the surface water portion, which gives us an additional funding source that's included in that $280,000 of ratepayer revenue. While total program funding of $430,000 represents a significant increase from the current level of $160,000, based on eligibility projections, we know that demand is going to exceed available funds. And to address that, we're revising the discount percentage from 50% to 40%, which will allow us to extend our assistance to another 300 households in our service area. We use the lowest quintile residential indicator, or LQRI, to benchmark affordability. That's a national benchmark developed by the EPA that compares the total cost of wastewater service to the total annual income for households among the lowest 20% of earners in a service area. The 40% discount was not arbitrarily selected. It's the discount amount that allows us to maintain a low impact rating for any customers that are on the discount program. So the total cost for their wastewater service would be about 1% of their total annual household income. We have, let's see, another couple of changes that we're proposing are really more administrative in nature. To improve access, we're proposing an online application in addition to the mailed paper application that we have currently, and then expanding our outreach, including participating in community open houses, which is an idea that we received from Michael and Amy when we met with them, and a great approach we think that will help out too. Next slide, please.
Before you go, well, Well, I don't, it doesn't matter what slide, I guess, but I just wanted to understand, if you're starting to take things like their SNAP and their WIC, you're not having to have them submit tax returns. And so that's gonna make it much easier for everybody, right? And
Yes.
so they just send you a photo of their card or whatever, and you check it that way? Or, I mean, what is envisioned as the process there?
Great question. So we allow customers to apply by self-certifying, and then we audit a number of accounts to ensure that our process is accurate. So they don't have to provide any documentation up front other than the application that attests to either their categorical eligibility or their income level that's within our threshold. When we audit them, they would have to provide that documentation, but it would be as simple as if they do qualify based on SNAP, a SNAP statement or a supplemental security income statement, anything along those lines.
Thank you.
So all those changes that we just covered, this is the enrollment projections based on those. We're anticipating 800 multifamily and rental households will qualify for assistance based on the West PGE pilot. Our IGA with Milwaukee does not currently provide for pass-through of West's discount. We understand that the city is still providing the discount on those customers' bills, but amending the IGA will allow will allow the city to reduce their remittance to West. So West would be effectively paying for the discount on the wastewater treatment portion of Milwaukee customer bills.
So West would cover what the city is now covering?
On the wastewater treatment portion, just on the West bill portion, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's, we're estimating about 150 households who are currently enrolled in Milwaukee's program. And then there's about 60 households that we believe will qualify that we bill only for surface water service that weren't previously qualified. Next slide, please. So in terms of next steps between West and the city of Milwaukee, the most urgent item that we're looking at is updating the West Milwaukee IGA. We're hoping to have that done by October. We have some draft language that we'll be passing along to city staff for them to review, and then we'll work with the city staff on ensuring that the terms work for everyone involved. Another update that we're proposing with this program is to add customer assistance as an eligible use of Good Neighbor program funds. Milwaukee receives Good Neighbor program funding. This isn't new funding. This would be flexibility to use existing funding to direct some portion of that at customer assistance. And that would also be an amendment to the Good Neighbor IGA that we would work with city staff on. And what we're proposing there is up to 10% or $10,000 of Good Neighbor funds. For Milwaukee, that would be up to around $15,000 a year that could potentially be directed towards customer assistance. And again, that's not new. That would just be a flexible use of existing funding that West is providing to the city.
Would that, Michael, require us to make any sort of adjustments in our budget documents?
Probably, yes. Sorry, probably, yes.
And lastly, this is one of those projects where we found the more we talk with our partner city staff, the more we exchange ideas, the more we learn from each other, the better our communities are for it. So we're really grateful for the input and the work that we've been able to do with Michael and the City of Milwaukee team so far, as well as our other city partners. And we're looking forward to continuing those conversations to see how good we can make Wes's program and how much positive benefit we can have. Next slide, please. So we wanted to leave you with a list of some of the resources we used. This is days of reading, not hours, and more for your packet than for us to discuss here. But that top resource is where we got the graphic of the affordability framework from. The second resource down, turn on the tap, that was the main resource that we used to develop our partnership agreement with PGE. And then third up from the bottom, navigating legal pathways, is the resource that we used in order to develop the legal justification for Wes's program. So I thought those were specifically worth calling out. And that's all we have. Thanks for your time.
I have a question for Michael. We didn't get a packet of this presentation. Will we be getting one?
I can send it to you.
Can you
following.
just email it to everybody?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'd be interested in that.
Yeah, and please do add it to online as well. I mean, it's good. I mean,
We'll
I think
add it
that's
to the-
generally the practice
Yes.
for city council meetings, so I assume it's the same for this.
It'll be
yeah.
added, and I'll forward it to all of you. With that, if now would be a good time to add community comment.
Okay, we will now welcome our community commenter, Ann Eldred, who is, wants to speak on evaluation of the poverty guidelines that we use, I presume.
Thank you so much.
And we do have a 3-minute limit, so we ask you to be brief or not too lengthy.
Thank you so much. My name is Anna Eldred. I am a local homeowner. I am a very small scale landlord. I am in the process of filing my business license. I am in love with Milwaukee, like in love with Milwaukee. And I love my home. My home is also called home today by 8 people. 3/4 of which were homeless or really about to be homeless when they moved in. And these utility rates are killing us, just to be there. I am going to adjust my comments actually based on the presentation that I just heard, because this is really important. The work that you're doing is amazing. And thank you so much for the effort and the thoughtfulness that you are putting into it, to having these expansive guidelines, and they're really amazing. If you are in a traditional home, if you are a parent with children, if that is the makeup of your house, but a house like mine that holds people between 80 and 100% of which, depending on the time period, would individually qualify for these rates, they will never qualify together. They can't. The folks in my home who are very stable, they're wonderful people. They've lived there for a long time. They've started their business. 14 people have moved through my house and now have their own apartments, including 4 small children. We have had 2 businesses born in our house because that's what the stability brought, right? But they are seniors, they are individuals with disabilities, they are fleeing domestic violence and gender-based violence situations. We have transitional aged youth, we have previously incarcerated individuals, we have young trans folks who were in very desperate situations and now have, they moved in because they were broke. And now they have community, and that community brings healing. But together, even though some of these folks live on Social Security, which is about $640 a month right now, they still don't qualify for these tiered rates or these rates because together their income is too high. They're too poor to live alone. They would be homeless. They were homeless in Milwaukee when they moved into my house. So this work that you're doing, it's so beautiful and it's so powerful. And I'm going to really encourage this council to direct staff and direct whatever resources are necessary to make sure that when you're looking at rates, that they serve the families that are being captured here, because those are great guidelines that you chose. They're really good. But to also look at ways to capture households like mine. I am staff for local government. I know how hard it is to administer programs that are real ambitious and open-hearted and things, but there are existing models that would work for this. You could look at the percentage of a household that is on SNAP or WIC or Medicaid or any of those kinds of things. You could look at all sorts of things, and I'm happy to.
So I think that's a great point to make that our staff will follow up with you on, because clearly both Wes and the city of Milwaukee are trying to do a better job of addressing the issues that are out there. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I had additional comments, but I'm just responding to that. So thank you for your time, and I will be back for sure.
Well, I'm sure that you will have the chance to make those comments to our staff.
Yeah, you guys, they've been really incredible. So thanks.
Thank you.
And also, I'd say if you email that, your entire comments can be distributed to us in writing.
I've talked with staff, the most wonderful, supportive people, and everyone says, no, like, we don't have the ability to do this. You do.
But what he's saying is, if you put your total comments in an email and send them in to Michael, they will be distributed to all of us.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, with all that, our question to you is, what strategies would you like staff to explore on affordability prior to next year's UAP enrollment? And something to keep in mind, how this provides the most impact for utility customers and how it will also affect future utility rates. So I'm kind of opening it up and I see Will's, Will up.
Sorry, a vestigial goose.
Really doing that.
Oh, that was from long ago.
Oh, okay. Does anyone have any particular questions? I think for me, it's been a lot to absorb what is in process. And I really don't have anything cogent to say at this point.
Well, I'm all for like exploring using things that already exist, like SNAP and WIC eligibility as our measures of eligibility. You know, I mean, that's both going to be more generous for some of the people, and it's also going to be a lot less staff time, I think, in terms of processing. So it makes sense to me to explore that. Obviously, and keeping in mind your second question, we'd need to see some, we need to see some projections as to what it would cost, how much it would change things. And, but I liked the idea of the Good Neighbor Committee also giving us the Good Neighbor Fund, also giving us a little room to help fund some of that. So, I think there are further conversations to be had, but I'm all for exploring ways to have a more expansive program.
Cool. Councilor Casabati?
Yeah, thank you. I just want to say I really appreciate all the work Wes has done over the years, not just the months or days, because I know they've been working on this for quite some time. And then also for the comments that were made, I did want to say something that we're also looking at. One of the biggest ways is to expand eligibility, right? Based on whatever the income is, whether it's up to 80%, 60 to 80%, whatever it may be, that's the easiest way to go. But I don't know if we have a time limit on our program, if it's only for a year.
Every year you have to reapply.
Yeah, I would think, that's a good strategy because that's a lot to deal with. And that's stressful to count down the clocks.
You mean going to a 2-year?
Yeah, right. Like some of the strategies like that, I would love to talk to PGE too, to see if there's something that we can do there as well. Because I know Wes worked a lot on that. So, they really they laid out the groundwork.
They did a lot of groundwork.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And then again, going back to just expanding the overall eligibility on income and just not make it so rigid and just base it off of, an arbitrary number. It should, more people should have access, and that would probably solve the issue with a household like that, is if we expanded the income level eligibility and then just a tiered system. That's what I should say.
Member Johnson?
I really liked the presentation. And the last thing she said before she left, something about like a percentage of household on SNAP. I thought that was really interesting because I keep getting louder. There's a number of programs that use like household income as the threshold, where it's just the income of everybody who lives in that address. But you can live with people who you don't actually have any kind of financial connection with. So I think recognizing that it's possible to have roommates who have a very different and disconnected financial situation from you, who need help, assistance, but because they live with you, they can't get it. That's all I had to say.
Member Schumacher?
I also am very impressed with the work that you all have put in. I think it's incredible. I think that the tiered approach that was mentioned, I think has an opportunity to maybe address the concerns of our community member that came in. I think that finding auto enrollment for the program would be a game changer. Takes a lot of, I'm sure, like computer programs and stuff like that. But I think that, the ability to expand this is important. I think that's what we've been talking a lot about. So, but I was like, I think that's it.
So now I do have something to say after listening and thinking. I think that the comments that were offered were sort of eye-opening in terms of looking at household in a different way. But I also would think that one of the strengths of what the city of Milwaukee has done, basically this is my take on it, since COVID, is that we actually have created partnerships with human service agencies that can take on a lot of the administrative burdens that we couldn't do, although we could provide the resources when somebody else did the eligibility stuff. I think that is actually.
St. Vincent de Paul is an example of that.
Right. I think that's one of the most, one of the best things that Milwaukee has done, coming out of a very, horrifying situation. And it occurs to me that talking with those people about other options for creating ways to qualify people that are not being qualified now because they're in multifamily housing or they don't own their houses. It does seem to me like that's an incredibly inventive idea to consider giving people a discount on a completely different bill, but that would in fact still be fiscally sound. So I think the work that is going on is really important and should be continued. That's all I have.
I'll echo, I am really impressed by the work that y'all are doing at West, and I feel like we're really lucky that we get to benefit and come second and copy some of it ideally. I think when I think about the comments, I think about two ways that we might be able to approach this. I'd agree with what Member Johnson was saying, trying to have the people that you live with aren't always connected to your financials. And so having a percentage within your own household that qualify for certain programs or trying to get creative about some of these things, I'd be curious to see. And maybe that solves her unique circumstance. There's something else she mentioned that could be another approach. She talked about being a landlord, and I had these concerns when hearing about Wes's program. How are we making sure that landlords that are renting units to people who are low income are able to have their tenants still access this program? And is there a way to distinguish between the landlord and the tenants when they come and apply for this program? Or is there some, how are we disaggregating between the people who are applying for this program and the landlords themselves? If we have some flexibility we bake into the program here, maybe that would help in this situation.
And the other point that jumps to mind is, how do you make sure that the landlords are not retaining all of the discount for themselves and not passing it through?
I think that's right. I think about, if you are.
The reality is there are people that will do that.
If you are, and this is where I don't know all of our billing practices as well, if you're renting a single family household from a landlord, I'd imagine the utility bill goes to you. It doesn't go to your landlord. Maybe that's an opportunity, but I don't know.
It's a mixed bag, and it will come up in your conversation tonight about utility code amendments.
Okay.
Foreshadowing.
Okay.
Just real quick, correct me if I'm wrong, but that was the purpose of putting it on the PGE bill, right? Is to get to the renters. Because a lot of times, if the landlords are paying the water is under their name, the electricity isn't. So that was the point of doing it that way, was so that we can still get renters the discount. Because now it's on an electric bill, which when you're renting, the electricity is usually in your name.
As long as they have a separate bill, not a single meter.
No, and not even if they have a separate bill, because if you're a renter and if you're a landlord and then you have a tenant, the tenant puts the electric bill in their name.
Maybe,
Right.
sometimes they do,
A lot of
sometimes they
right.
don't.
But
Right,
the
yeah.
water bill isn't in their name. That's why they put it on the PGE bill.
Sometimes
So
it
they
is
can-
and sometimes it isn't.
Right.
Right, yeah. And nothing addresses everything.
No, but I think the model is there.
Hi, I just wanted to jump up and say two things. One, I wanted to thank our partners at West. They've just been phenomenal. I've learned so much from them, and I really appreciate their generosity spending time with you all this evening. We usually do the State of the District update with just council, but I thought it's incredibly relevant to our QUAC members too, and so it was great to put those together. I took notes, as I know our staff did, on all the great suggestions, and we're gonna take this and then come back with some options and things for you to consider as we look at updating the program potentially next year. But I'm gonna ask kind of a tough question too, and this gets to Mike's second bullet up here. I think what I'm hearing is a theme across the budget committee of an interest in expanding eligibility for our programs. One thing, and correct me if I get this wrong, Erin, but one thing that Wes found is when you do that, if in the bigger framework of affordability, you're trying to maintain the most affordable rates for everyone, you may need to lower the overall amount of the discount in order to not have the load be borne by other ratepayers. I just kind of wanted to make sure I get some head nods that I'm understanding you correctly, that expanding eligibility is kind of that goal you want us to really be looking at as we look in this analysis, and be transparent then about if the actual discount may have to be reduced in order for that to not have a undue burden on all ratepayers. Geese are flying.
Yeah, it was a quick draw. Yeah, I think, and to be transparent, I submitted a model that does that. So I played around with AI and submitted a model that tiers the discount up to 60 to 80% of income, but it just lowers how much of the discount it is. And it also uses our reserves, as we talked about, but it caps it so it doesn't leave our reserves lower than what our required percentage is. So it's a model, so we'll see, but it takes a lot of, what was that?
That's my charades. Can you share that out with the budget committee?
Yeah, I just want to know, once I get the nod that it's viable,
TBD,
it is.
It's a public record. He's already sent it to me, so he can send it to you, but we'll also provide our own version of that on the coming up.
I just wanted to say to that, in the rate design we did most recently with FSC, what are their names?
FCS. Mhm.
FCS. There, whether or not it was stated explicitly, there is an assumption of how many people are going to be on that program. And I would figure that it's either exactly at how many people are actually on it already, or the assumption is greater than how many people are currently utilizing. And if it's greater than the current utilization, there is money built into our current rates that just covers additional enrollment. So there is a chance that we don't actually have to change things for other people, just something as we look through it.
Very
Keep in
fair
mind.
point. Very fair point. And I think we've tried a lot in the last year to increase enrollment in the program. This is detailed in the memorandum that Michael talked about, and we still see it pretty stubborn at that number. We also asked in our community survey how aware of utility assistance are people, and when you look at the subset of people who would qualify, it's very, very high percentages that are aware. So I think you're right. There's I think definitely room to grow, but there is kind of some natural limitations, and the model built it in. So I wasn't implying that we would absolutely cut the discount, but that we may have to come back with you and show you if you don't want to have impacts on other ratepayers, you may have to take some. Well, and we'd work with FCS on modeling.
I would just second what Member Johnson was saying, trying to find, I think it's a worthwhile trade-off, in part because we are serving not all the people who are eligible for this program, and I think that's part of just how our program is designed and making sure we can actually capture the people who we're trying to get to.
Sure.
Having a program that impacts more of those people, I think, is a worthy goal.
Great.
I kept thinking of it and then forgetting. One, I think that the choice in changing the language in the program is incredibly impactful. I think there are a lot of people that don't want to be qualifying for those programs, and it keeps them from taking the assistance that's available to them. So I think just changing language, I would
Sure.
hope that we could see some improvements.
Yeah, great point. And I want to give a real shout out to our equity and inclusion coordinator, Judy and Amy on our finance team who work together. We've definitely started that rebranding. It's no longer the low income utility assistance program. It's the utility assistance program. And I think that's absolutely destigmatizing this kind of support because it's many, many people need it. Okay, I think we've got
Okay.
a lot of great marching orders.
So, any other comments on this, or can we move on to the quarterly report?
I was going to ask, we're about halfway through, if we want to take a brief 3-minute break before, or do we just want to plow ahead? What do you all? How about I put it like this? I need to use that, so I'm going to take a
Okay,
2-minute
we'll
break
take a
and we'll
break.
be right back. 6:45. Oh, 6:50 according to that clock. think we're good.
Okay, that goes on, we'll be back on.
Okay.
So we are back in
Yep.
business, and Michael's going to present the quarterly report.
Thank you. All right, moving forward, I would like to give a brief update on the Q4 FY 2026 quarterly report. We just completed our fiscal year 2026 on June 30th of this year. This concluded the two-year budget biennium for 25 and 26. The numbers I'm presenting to you tonight and that are in the packet are all unaudited. This means staff has closed our books and is currently reviewing work papers and preparing year-end accruals and journal entries to true up the accounts. Our auditors from Baker Tilly are on site this week doing an interim field work testing. This generally means reviewing documents and approvals. They're scheduled to be here for the entire week. They will return in mid-October to do a final review of our financial schedules and really dig down into the numbers then. And that's generally a 2-week period that they are here. From then it goes on to their partner review, and we plan to issue our final report, which is our ACFR, in December of 2026, later this year. So any questions on that before we get started?
Just to be clear, our deadline for completing it, our state deadline is in next year, right? So
It's
if we
December
complete-
31st of
Okay.
this year. And we have every intention of meeting that deadline. First, I wanted to point out for a staffing count. This is the final staffing report for the previous fiscal year, 25-26. This is pre the city's reorg that we did last year. So this is prior to the new divisions that we had come in: climate and natural resources, development services, and strategic engagement. The budgeted total for the FTEs in the previous fiscal year the previous budget biennium was 149.25. Through the reorg and restructuring, our FY 27-28 FTE total is 163.25. Majority of these increases for FTEs were included in budget adjustments in FY 26. As of the end of fiscal year 26, the actual worked FTE equivalent was 155.40 FTE. I just want to note that this isn't the amount of staff that we have. We have our payroll guy, and he goes through and calculates everybody's hours worked and does an equivalency of how many FTEs over that time worked is that equivalent to, and it was the 155.4. As of June 30th of this year, the city had vacant positions in a development services engineer, a city receptionist, a utility billing receptionist, and this is a new position that was created through the budget process. This is a second person to Amy Francis, who's currently our UB billing specialist. And as of June 30th, we had 4 police officer openings. I believe we've filled a couple of them since then. And we've also added the city receptionist since then as well. Any questions on staffing numbers or FTE counts?
Yeah, I guess I'm trying to understand the 163.25 versus the 154.4. So how many actual people worked at the peak or at the last day of 20?
On average, we would say 155.4.
Okay,
And that's on average. What we had at the end of June 30th, 2026, I think it was about 155, 156. We were fully staffed mostly, other than a couple openings in police. But I just wanted to show it's kind of a hazy transition period between pre-reorg and post-reorg. And so I'm trying to walk the fine line between the both of them in that.
Okay.
And that staffing with the Milwaukee Redevelopment Commission, where they're 1.8 FTE over the allotted FTE, that's due to the reorg you're saying, or, okay.
Yes, we added Sierra's position, the economic development person, and then a portion of Sierra's and a portion of Joseph Briglio's salary. And then I believe Adam Moore had a small piece.
Yeah, it's
in that as
100%
well.
of our economic development coordinator, a portion of our assistant city manager, and a portion of our parks development manager.
That sounds great, thank you.
That'll get clearer going forward now that we're on the new fiscal cycle and we have divisions and departments all cleared up, but I just wanted to call that out. Franchise fees. This has been pretty encouraging for me. The city is trending for PGE and Northwest Natural. If you look from FY24, the jump in 25, 26, that is due to council increasing in the right-of-way fees from 5% to 8%. That's paid a huge dividend. Note again that this is accruals, and I know that there's a little bit of money that's trickling in through Northwest Natural, so that might tick up a little bit more. The offset to that is Comcast and telecoms that continually to be downward trend. I think we foresaw that when we were doing the budget, and that was part of why we went to the 5 to 8% increase in right-of-way fees. Overall, I've seen really good growth going from the 2.4 million in 2024 up to over 4 million in FY26.
Do you have a comment about why the private electric service suppliers is going down? Because, I mean, are we losing businesses that use that?
So that's comes from Precision Cast Parts. I believe that they don't use PGE, they use their own.
Right, but why would it be going down is what I'm asking.
I'm not sure. I see that from 24, it went at 330. It went down in 25 a bit and then popped back up. It's entirely attributable to how they're using electricity, and I don't have any insight on that.
Okay.
Yeah,
It has to do with their sourcing of their electrical suppliers too. They're trying to get the best, deal possible.
Right,
Yeah,
right. Yeah. Yeah, but a 20% reduction in 1 year is pretty substantial when.
But look at from 22 to 23, they doubled, or nearly doubled. So it does seem like a business that fluctuates.
It's very inconsistent and fluctuates through, but yeah, I don't know how that instability
It may
comes
just
about.
be
but
the
yeah,
economics of their industry, right?
correct.
Yeah. But I wanted to look back at PGE again. So we raised, from 5% to 8%. So that's a 60% increase, but this is a 250% increase over 2 years. What other things cause PGEs? I mean, I guess, as we have new service and new households, whatever, there's some increase, but that still seems like a big increase.
I think it's because of how much their rates have gone up, and we are a percentage of their rates.
We're a percentage of their rates. Okay.
And I don't know if it's 250%. I mean, it's gone up healthy, but
I think she added the 2 years of the biennium.
Yeah, from 935 is less than $1 million, and we're at 2.5 million, almost 2.5 million. So that's my 250% ballpark, but yeah.
there was also a way with how the fiscal year and the timings on how they were paying us. So I know in FY25 that they were a little behind, not in paying us, but how their calculation was going through. And Matt worked with them to get on the same period and tracking going forward. And that So FY '26 might be a little inflated, might be a little inflated, and FY '25 may be a little underinflated. So between those, I think going forward, it will average out.
Okay, great.
Carrie?
I know that there's some hoopla online about them changing their, like ratepayer rates to, and like kind of distributing that burden to AI centers, like AI data centers. I don't know if, as far as forecasting, if that is, keeping an eye on that to make it sure it's in consideration, because I think it's like 8% for residential or something like that. So if we're a portion of that, it could impact our franchise fees.
Thank you. Moving forward. So I put together the quarterly report and I went through and kind of highlighted a bunch of stuff through the different funds that I saw. For this, I have the fund summary here, which I can go through. Again, these are unaudited numbers, but I wanted to show the total funds as a whole. Overall, it dipped about 255,000 as a whole. Most of that is in the general fund, which I'm gonna kind of target and move forward and specify on. But the others, the building fund, all of the other funds, the transportation, water fund, seem pretty healthy. For the water and wastewater, I just wanted to point out that their expenses, they have a lot of PFAS projects that are coming online in 27, 28. So I think that those balances are higher and they're for that purpose, and the work is going to come out in 27, 28. Other than general fund, is there any other questions or anything that anybody had on the other funds?
I have a contemporary question for
Okay.
Peter, which relates to the hacking of the security of utilities that has occurred
And
yes, up in Michigan, and what effect that has had on our system, if any.
Yes, thank you for the question. Yeah, we're certainly aware of that issue, or those issues that are actually occurring throughout the country right now. We feel like we've installed the appropriate security measures, and we've checked a couple times with our system integrator and our IT manager to make sure that we're in a good condition. So I think things look good on our
Is the new
end.
SCADA part of that?
Yes, the new SCADA system is part of that. And we built that with, in the forefront of how we built that was cybersecurity, to make sure that we were protecting that system from intrusion. Now, doesn't mean it can't happen, but I think we've done a pretty good job so far.
Thank you.
I would add too that I don't think anything's 100% safe, but if anything, I trust our IT guy, Joe Gardner, through and all the cyber stuff. So I would say we're in good shape. On top of that, I just want to point out the MRC, the dip in the fund balance from there. That was for the grant program, the storefront grant program that I think it's been reaping rewards as you drive downtown Milwaukee a little bit. I went by Decibel and they have a very nice outdoor building that they're just now finishing. So it's nice when you can see like dollars impacting the downtown kind of directly. Moving forward to general fund revenue. This is just a revenue piece for general fund. A couple things to point out. One, property tax revenue has been trending a little above the 3%. I think a lot of that is the building and growth that we've had in the city over the last couple of years. We are capped at 3%, but all of the new projects and development that are outside of the URA, some of that is creeping in and we see a little bit of tax revenue increase from that. I think Cheragino Farms is on that sliding scale. So we're seeing some of that start to come through. I believe we're in the 6th year of a 10-year slide into for property taxes. So that's a positive. The franchise revenue.
I would just want to comment.
Yeah.
I just want to put out, as I recall from a briefing that we had a while ago, when new properties come onto our tax rolls, we do not collect at their full value, right? We collect at some reduced value for them.
Oh, at their assessed. Yes.
No, there's some other reduction. I remember Ann Ober having somebody come in and talk about that, and I'd be interested to know what they actually are coming on our tax rolls at, because I believe it was very clearly stated that they did not come on at their full,
Well, sure. So I can think of two things that you might be thinking of. One is Cherokee Farms, which was.
yeah, I'm not talking about that.
Yeah, given a 10-year phase-in
Right,
as an
right.
incentive to annex. The other is the vertical housing development credit, which applied to Axle Tree primarily, which they got also a 10-year phase. It's a state credit to incentivize, mixed
Yeah,
use.
I don't think either of those are what I'm talking
I
about.
remember it was somebody from the state that had come in.
Yes, it
Wasn't
was,
Dina, but I vaguely remember her name. I can go back and look.
Yeah. it would be helpful.
Yeah.
It's just, it was always an assumption of mine that was sort of blown to smithereens.
You mean more than just that it's a part year because it wasn't the
Right,
full
I
tax
mean
year
more
or
than that.
something?
I mean, do something different.
Yeah, I don't recall anything like that. Okay.
We can look into that.
I will look and see if I can find my notes.
Mhm.
At least I could identify the date that that happened.
Intergovernmental, that was off. I just wanted to point out. We had budgeted for a Metro grant that I believe was awarded recently in FY '27. So I know that's an eyesore of 1.5, but I believe we did collect that, we did collect that revenue or attend to in FY '27.
So it was a subsequent year that it came in
Correct.
from when it was budgeted. Okay.
A couple other things I wanted to point out was last year, you all adopted for new revenue streams, public safety fee and the credit card fee. And I know that it shows, we have this in there as charges for services. And I know it's just a tad under budget in there, but really the credit card fee, we only have 6 months of revenue in there. And the public safety fee, I think we have 9 of 12 months in there. And it's still, I think, outperformed the budget. I have some data later to kind of show how many people have switched from credit card fee to auto pay. But I just want to know that that work that you guys did a year ago is already paying off and showing benefits.
So I am having trouble understanding the 300,000 in the red for franchise revenue when 2 pages earlier you showed us how our franchise revenue is up.
It is, this is according to budget, and we're not totally done with accruals yet. I was mentioning that the Northwest Natural, and there's a little bit of PGE that will come in, that I think that will push that close to budget. But for the numbers right now, it's just a tad under. And also to that point, transfers, we haven't done our final transfers yet. So I think that 116, once we do journal entries, will come up. I think overall, our revenue stream from what we budgeted 2 years ago to what we're collecting has met what we budgeted for. For general fund expense, this is just a brief pit. I put in your packets kind of a little bit of information of how each department went through and how we did versus budget. Point of that was kind of just to show where we are in personnel services, materials M&S and capital outlay.
I applaud you for doing this. I have wanted to see this kind of a spreadsheet for a long time, so I thank you for doing it.
Of course. I think for me, this is helpful of, I don't want to say scary, but what's nervous for me is our personnel services. We are getting up there into the 90s for all the departments. And to me, that just kind of shows our cushion is shrinking. And after this, I have a budget adjustment proposal in here that we can kind of get into it a little bit. But overall, we were under what our current budget was for personnel services. But on the flip side, our benefits and our COLA costs are going up. So that's something to keep note of. I think we did pretty good at managing our materials and services and capital outlay. So I think the question that you guys are all going to ask is, how does this affect our 5-year forecast? And I want you to pause on that because I'll come back to it because I want to get to the proposed budget adjustment first.
Before you go on, Michael, Carrie,
Yep.
do you have a question? No, sorry.
Oh.
The goose was just.
All right, so moving on to our next item is we adopted a budget as of June 2nd, 2026, just over 2 months ago. And I'm here proposing a budget adjustment for that. And the reasons are when we went through and did our budget earlier this year.
Are you moving to the next?
I am. Sorry.
I have a comment that I would like to make. This is the first sort of reduced quarterly report we've had since we ended up with the new online system.
Socrata.
I would like to ask, and I've asked before, but I really want it to happen, that when we get a report, we get the links to the departmental Socrata data so that people can look at that data. It may be that it's on a page with the, where the departments are listed. It may be that you could list them on this page where you say to contact you. But I think that if people are going to be able to easily track what's happening with the city budget, we need to have those links, and they need to be always in our reports. And I guess my only other comment is I really have found it helpful to have the sort of summary statement that we used to have about the demographics and stuff like that. And I would not like to lose that. It's not that it has to be rewritten every quarter, but I think that that is important information to frame what then the quarterly report explains in greater detail. So I don't know if anybody else has ideas on that. But I do think that we can rethink our quarterly report format, given that we now have that online resource and still have enough narrative that, other people reading this know what's going on.
Yeah.
So that's my request.
I accept all that, and we can put a link to Socrata from it. I think I just caution you too that these numbers are as of June 30th.
Right.
And the numbers on Socrata are going to be a little bit
They'll be current,
forward.
right.
They'll be current. So
But
there'll be a little
that can
gap.
be made clear in the way they're presented, I
Correct.
think. And that, I think, would be a way that people would begin to use it as a resource that is not necessarily happening now.
Correct. I should also note too that Socrata right now, if you look at it, we are in the midst of updating our budget into Socrata. So it's not our FY 27-28 budget isn't all the way up into Socrata yet, but it will be later this month.
Okay, great, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. So moving forward, with the proposed budget, when we were going through and putting the budget together in March and April, we didn't know, we were in the midst of bargaining with ASME, our biggest union. And we didn't know at that time what bargaining was going to come about. So Emma and I met and we came up with some assumptions that we put into the budget. And everything else we kind of put into contingency for what might happen. And so thankfully, earlier, well, it was last week, we had an agreement with ASME that we took to the council, and it's been since adopted. It's a 3-year deal with COLAs in year 1 of 3.5, year 2, 3.1, and year 3, 3.1. There's also salary adjustments based on market comparison. We went through and did a review of job descriptions, looked outside to other comparator cities, and tried to make sure that we were in the ballpark for what our compensation was. Some we were low in, so I think some we were high in. The ones that we were low in, we made a recommendation to bring up to market through ASME and through management. So those are included in this budget adjustment. We also we increased our VIBA health contribution in the past. This is like an FSA account that people can go into and use to offset some costs during the year. We used to make a $25 contribution, I believe monthly or per paycheck. I'm not 100% sure on which, but we've since doubled that to $50. So that increase is in this budget adjustment. And then also we had vacation cash out. We negotiated a way for employees to go, and if they have excess vacation, to go and sell back on a quarterly basis portions of their vacation amount if they are over a certain threshold. All that I didn't know in March, April, so I am proposing this budget adjustment for those in this budget adjustment. The second piece is we go through, and engineering goes in February, March, and we try and get together all of our CIP project, or all of our CIP planning for the next fiscal or biennium. And it's really hard because we're asking engineering to go out there and say in February, what are the budget that you have in the previous fiscal year 26, how our target are you going to be at the end of June? And we, in February, think, oh yeah, we're gonna do all the work, we're gonna get all that invoices. It doesn't always work like that. When we put together the budget, we didn't have those numbers. So in April, when we came and had on the April 26th meeting, there was a slide that showed, hey, we have $4.37 million that this was stuff that was already budgeted in FY26 that we're going to need to roll forward for FY27. Since then, now that we're prepared that we can do that budget adjustment, that cost to completion is now $5.359 million. So what this is this is money that at the end of FY26, we had budgeted this money. This money, because it wasn't rebudgeted in FY27, our beginning fund balance grew higher because the amounts that we didn't use were made the next year's fund balance go up. So the offset to this is in FY27-28, we're going them back and we're saying, hey, we overinflated those ending fund balances. We're going to bring them down in alignment with this $5.4 million. I said a lot of words there. Does anybody have questions or any confusion?
Well, I mean, I guess I understand that every year we have CIP projects that are in midstream when we change over fiscal years. So that's not anything new.
Correct.
But this language in this report about staff will be adding expenditures to relevant utility fund budgets, reducing the unappropriated ending fund balances for those funds in the budget.
That's what I'm saying is we're reducing the unappropriate ending fund balance. That was the beginning balance to bring that back into alignment to account for those funds.
Okay.
So my question is, once the adjustment is done, will the beginning fund balances be relatively in line with the beginning
Yes.
fund balances of previous years?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, there was something else I wanted to put in. Go ahead.
And Peter can say this better than I can, but maybe not with previous years, but with how we expected the budget to go. Because this will not have an impact on the overall fund health for those, because we thought it was going to be spent by June 30th. It wasn't, it's rolling over. So really, when we get our audited fiscal year ends for the last fiscal year, it will be $5.4 million higher than we had anticipated. And this adjustment just cleans up the budget so that our ending fund balance will be the same. Is that correct, Peter?
Generally, it should be about the same, what we had estimated. So, I mean, these are expenditures that were already approved. They were part of our CIP budget last year. And I think, as you recall, we had suggested in one of the budget meetings in May, some recommendations for some updates, budget amendments that we were going to need to do to capture those full project costs as they went across the budget year. So that's what we're doing.
Or is any of the increase related to unanticipated cost increases for materials or any of that?
That's all within the project contingency. And we are
okay.
seeing some of that, though, in terms of fuel costs, and that impacts asphalt prices. But those are part of those contingency costs that we have within the budget.
Okay, thank you.
I would also add that we came in February and said, we're going to do a new way of CIP, where in the past, we're doing, say, 60% of the CIP that we wanted to do. Now, going forward into this fiscal year, we're saying we want to do much more. We want to deliver on that. And by doing that, we don't have enough cushion in the current budget to absorb this as well. So in previous years, we probably did have it because we were only doing 60%. Now we're saying we're going to do a much higher rate. And so we have to do this budget adjustment to give us enough cushion and bring our balances in line to do that work. Okay. Moving along, we have a couple other miscellaneous adjustments. So the budget proposal dollars that I'm looking to bring forward to Budget Committee for approval and then on to council is the 3-year CBA. We are dipping into contingency for general fund for $745,000 and the other funds, $290,000. The CIP projects, that's the $5.4 million that we just talked about. There's also a $27,000 adjustment for library lockers at the Milwaukee Community Center. And also Climate and Natural Resources has a $55,000 adjustment to cover the cooling center grant from the previous year. So that grant rolls over and we're just taking those revenue funds and putting it into our budget. On top of that, there is one in the tree fund for some professional services for $43,000 that we're increasing.
On the cooling center, I mean, as I recall, it was originally a 3-year, And so is this the third year, or, I mean, this was always anticipated, or have we actually just spent less than we thought we were?
A little bit of both. It's
Yeah.
so I think we are entering the final year and we have definitely underspent. I will say that I've been really appreciative of the county's partnership and kind of flexibility as we've sort of implemented that cooling center pilot. They most recently, asked us to identify potential other eligible expenses in terms of making the library a safe cooling center, potentially our quality center. So yeah, I think it's a bit of both.
Okay.
And I do believe we're in the last year of that 3-year agreement.
So what will happen at the end of the 3 years?
That's a great question. We will see if the county is going to be making more city funding available through its Metro Supportive Housing Services funds, SHS funds that they pass through the county. And if they will, we can consider applying for more. We can also consider looking at absorbing those costs into our own general fund or seeking other grant assistance.
So if we're looking at absorbing the costs, how much of what we have spent so far has been on like infrastructure stuff versus operating costs?
That's a really good question that we can definitely follow up with the exact breakdown. The infrastructure costs are quite minimal. I mean, I think to date it's been a lot of water, popsicles, granola bars, chips, things like that.
Staff time.
The staff time is the operational piece. And so I do think this most recently, our emergency management and resiliency coordinator worked with our library director, other facility directors, and the county team to identify some potential other eligible expenses. I may be even getting this wrong, but maybe even some of the HEPA filters that were purchased last week
We
for
are
the air
looking at,
quality.
yeah, some additional filters that we can bring into the building, some portable filtering capabilities. And we're also, I think we have some professional service cost associated with reviewing, in particular, the library's ability to maybe be a wildfire smoke or smoke sanctuary. One of the things, the way that system is built right now, it brings in 100% outside air. So we're going to do a little bit of a study to identify those
A
possibilities there.
recirculating system as
Right,
opposed
yeah.
to.
And then the other thing we're looking at as part of that is doing a battery resiliency study at the library too, to see if we can bring that in there. So we've got some of those dollars, some of that 55,000 is associated with those costs as well.
So this is the proposed resolution that we're bringing to council next week. I just wanted you guys to all be aware. I don't know if we need a formal vote for this, but I just wanted to bring it to all your attention. Brian?
It doesn't need to be recommended by the budget committee?
I don't believe so. I think that this is we're just bringing it to your attention and making you aware.
I think we
Oh.
need a resolution. I think we need
Okay,
to vote.
then, yes, let's open it up.
Okay, so,
Okay,
okay,
I misspoke.
uh-huh. So can I hear a motion to approve the budget adjustment?
I motion to recommend this.
Awesome.
I second.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay.
All right,
Onward.
thank you. Moving forward. So back to the question I'm sure a lot of you had. How does all this affect our 5-year forecast? And the answer is not a lot. A lot of this money came from either, as we said, the unappropriated fund balance for the CIPs, just money that we had come into our beginning fund balance, or for the case of the collective bargain, or the COLAs and the bargaining, that was all done through contingency reserves. So thus the 5-year forecast looks similar to what we presented in April. This shows us going under policy requirement in fiscal year 2027 and below fund balance in year 3, fiscal year 2029. Again, this looks scary, but we continue to monitor these forecasts and also see the revenue moves we have done in the last 2 years the right-of-way fee increase, the public safety fee, the payment card fee, produced positive results. An update too, I know that Chief and I are meeting at the end of the month with the photo radar people. So we're trying to get that in motion as well. So a lot of money, but not a lot that we had planned for and budgeted for in this 5-year forecast. So there's not a lot of change with that. Any questions? All right. Moving along to the next topic. I had a crazy idea recently of, I see the police come to you with a year in review of kind of annual stats that they had for their policing. And I thought, since you guys are all the board of the utilities, I would like to show you a year in review that we did for fiscal year 2026. And I would like to start this so that in coming years, we can see comparisons of how we're doing. So I had Amy put together just a lot of different data that I've put together into a quick presentation just to show you how we're doing. The city currently has 7,212 total accounts. Of that, most of them, 88% are residential, 5% are multifamily apartments, and 7% commercial. When you compare that to usage, and these are in CCF, which 748 gallons of water equals 1 CCF. So our residents there's 88% of our accounts, but they use 44% of the water. Multifamily housing, bigger, larger apartment complexes, they use 20% of the water. And then commercial comes in at 34%. On total, we used 9,776, 634 CCF of water as a whole, as a community as of last year. Dollars. The total dollars we billed was $23,651,033. The total dollars that we collected was $23,599,800. I think that's really good coming out of COVID, coming out of a lot of the economic hardship that we have now. I think that this speaks to the utility biller. Amy Francis is very good at, she tells people to have a plan. Like as we partner with people, if people are having, challenges, financial challenges of paying their bill, we have payment plan options. We offer them the UAP option. We really try and go above and beyond to let people know that. With that, there's some people that we do send to collections, and we sent about 25,000 to collections, which was last year, which is about 49 accounts. Our outstanding receivables as of June 30th was $286,000. If you could see like the 30, 60, 90, 120 breakdown, I think this is really good for businesses, for cities our size. I think we do really good at capturing those dollars. The number of accounts currently on auto pay is 1,277. The number of credit card payments made last year was 2,330. I didn't have a chance to look, but I'm sure that was less than the previous year.
You're saying on average each month?
No, I'm saying, I think this is as of total for the year.
Really? Okay, that's not very many.
As I say that, maybe I'll go back and look.
You have 7,000 accounts that are getting billed monthly. I guess I was assuming that was an average, a monthly average, but.
That makes more sense. I can confirm that. And we do leak adjustments, and we did 83 of those last year. For utility assistance, kind of going back to earlier. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Where's the NCPRD account in here?
It is a part of it,
Not collected, not sent to collection.
yes.
NCPRD, this changed last week, but prior to last week, hadn't paid any utility bills since January, so they would not be showing up in the total dollars collected, but they have not been sent to collections by our staff. They did make a payment last week.
During the bike rack?
Did they make a full payment?
They did not make a full payment. This is a topic highly intertwined with our current negotiations with the district about Milwaukee Bay Park and other matters.
They're not accounted for here, is that what I'm hearing?
They would not be accounted for half of the year, because that was a whole fiscal year of review. They would not be accounted for, 6 months would not be accounted for.
Thank you.
Correct.
The payment they made this last week, was it a full payment or did they not?
It was
pay
not a full
certain
payment.
charges?
It was, it did not include stormwater, transportation, or public safety charges.
Thank you.
Utility assistance summary. So as of July 1 of last year, we had 137 customers in the UAP program. As of this year, we had 147 customers. Of that, we had 163 applicants, 16 were denied, 9 due to they didn't meet the income threshold, and 7 were due to not providing income verification. Staff held 3 events trying to assist people with applying for the utility assistance program. We had one in November, one in April, and one in May. And the one in April, we had PGE come out, and I think Northwest Natural provided some information. So we were trying to get the collab in. If somebody comes in looking for utility assistance for us, they could meet and go with PGE and get set up on their accounts as well. We had a pretty positive showing from that.
Positive showing meaning people signed up or that the people came?
That people came and people signed up.
Okay.
Also, we do a lot of noticing on our website, on Pilot, social media. And I think I said before, Amy sits outside my office and I hear her 3 times, 4 times a day, encouraging people to go to the website and sign up. I will say personally that I've had a couple people, I'd say 10% of, we make them aware, we let them know, and they kindly say thank you, but to them, it's a personal issue of they don't want to be on it, which I respect, but I just know that not everybody on here is accounted for in all this, but we make every effort to let them know of the program and how to sign up. So that's kind of all what I had on the utility assistant, or the utility year in review. Mayor Beatty?
Yeah, my question isn't about utility assistance, but it's going back to the credit card question.
Okay.
So I would be interested to see how changing adding the credit card fee has changed behavior. And I do feel like we still have an unanswered question out there about, that was raised by Joanne Bird and other people about making payment with a bank transfer, some kind of other system other than credit card.
So I would say for that, like the worry in that is that they're going to go and they feel like we're going to go on the first month and they're not going to have an opportunity if there's a leak or a high bill, that they're not going to have the opportunity to go and scrutinize it before the funds are taken from their account. And I would say you can make the auto draft deposit the 10th, the 15th, the 24th, so that you can give yourself time to look at the bill before the auto draft piece comes out. Also, you can go to the bank and you can do auto draft from the bank that just sends it directly to us. There is, I think some people, there's, I forget what it's called, e-check, I think it is. We've looked into that, and that's also a fee to us. So the city isn't saving fees in that. It's just added, we would have to then add the credit card fee or a transaction fee along to them. I think the nice thing that we do as a city is when the bigger organizations, the PGEs, the Northwest Naturals, they bake all that into their rates. We give customers the option to, hey, we're gonna try and keep rates down for everybody. And if you choose to pay via credit card and you choose to get credit card reports or whatever that is, then we have you pay for that directly through it. We don't automatically bake it in.
I'm glad you brought this up, though, Mayor. It's been on my list to discuss with council, and I'd happily take some input tonight. But on this, I hear and agree with what Michael is saying, and I believe, if I'm speaking for Ms. Bird, that she still has personal preference of wanting to really cut a check every month and not have it be auto drafted. I have spoken with Michael about potentially turning on the e-check option. What we would do, though, is apply the same fee that we apply for the credit card transactions, because it's the same principle. We're incurring a cost to accept that.
And that cost is a comparable cost?
That's my
to the credit
understanding.
card cost?
Yeah.
Well, I have to admit, I don't use auto pay either, but I just encourage you to make sure that all those things you just said about how you can control your auto pay or how you can set up your bank to make your own payment are very clear to people on the website and, you know, anybody who raises this issue, because, yeah.
I will say that I have been on auto pay since it was first offered. And it occurs to me that in terms of educating people, maybe having a little video that comes on to where somebody that uses it says what the benefits have been to them, but would be helpful.
Sure.
It's a good idea. Really quick to add, to answer the mayor's question. So Judy has just pulled up from September of 2025, the credit card fees was ranging about $15,000 a month. In March, it's down to below 10,000 at 9,600. And the number of auto draft accounts was 837 in September. In March, we have 1,115 people on it. So the trends are changing.
Thank you.
Councilor Massey?
Is this issue about the e-checks, is this widespread?
I think we've heard from 2 folks
Okay.
since we implemented the fee and interested in that option.
When this first came up, I couldn't get my arms around this being an issue because I just had my own personal experience with my bank and, and I have the option for auto pay, which, whatever the bill is, it gets paid. But I also just have the option to get the bill and then look at it and then pay it. So, and I mean, this has been, maybe my experience is different, but, I've had this capability for over 10 years. So it's just kind of perplexing to me about this being an issue. So just an observation.
It may just be that people don't know how to use it. And that's why I say, yeah, let's make sure the instructions are as good as they can be.
But the instructions are going to be a little bit different for every bank. Yeah.
Well, actually, most banks and credit unions use a program called Bill Pay, which is not theirs, which allows you to go in. Once you've entered that account, you just go in every month and say how much you want to pay, and it goes, and it doesn't cost anybody anything.
The e-check form is different.
Right. I know what I'm saying is, but people do have the capacity to control it and do a bill pay from their bank.
Correct. Member Schumacher?
I was just curious if you all have made any considerations for making the application to set up auto pay easier. I know we were talking about security, et cetera. I think I'm like, if it's not easy, I probably am not going to do it. I'm just not because I can't, but I have good intentions and then I don't. But I think that there are options to make that process easier. So, and again, enhancements in software are expensive. I just think that that could make it even easier for people. And I would say some of the platforms that like I pay invoices through, they offer a free ACH option that it doesn't like, that one is like the free option for people. And so that's interesting that the fee is still being passed on, if that's the same thing.
When we have them sign up for auto pay, that's what it is, an ACH option, and that's how we keep those transaction fees low.
I think we need to dig into this e-check thing and kind of understand specifically what's going on and if there's, we're definitely looking into it. And I take your point entirely about making ease of sign up is the number one barrier for me too.
I was like, I don't know how many people, like, I have a printer at home, but most people just don't, it's just extra steps to get to the thing. And I would say, again, the ACH option is just a payment option, right? In a checkout portal, so that you have to type all your bank information in every time if that's your choice, but it's there and it's a free option. If you're paying as an ACH for an invoice, it gives, I pay invoices with ACH and I don't like to auto pay, even though it's not my personal money, but I treat it like it's my money. So, but when I go to checkout, it's like credit, if I pay with a credit card, it tells me there's going to be a fee, but I can actually just select a button and then I type in our bank account information every month and then it's just an ACH, so.
Yeah, I just wanted to provide a little bit of perspective on auto pay, because I'll be honest with you, I even though I can do it now, I don't. And the reason is because I've never been financially stable enough to be able to do it. Because a lot of times, if the auto pay is set, depending on when it's set, it could really impact other bills or other emergency things that come up or other finances. And if you're paycheck to paycheck, it's really hard to do auto pay because sometimes you have to let it go past the due date in order to let your money stretch a little bit farther until the next paycheck. And then in some cases, people are like the number of people that are behind a month, that's probably what they're doing. A lot of them are probably because they got to go a month behind to catch up on something else. And then the next month, they'll catch up on the last month. It's more of, I think personally, because I've done that majority of my life, it's more of a financial game you have to play. It's juggling. You got to be able to make sure you have a little bit in case, but then if you pay it all right now, then the auto pay sometimes comes in at the worst time. So I think it's a little bit more of that than as opposed to people not knowing how to do it.
All right, any other questions? All right, moving along here. So
I guess
next-
I do have one other
Yep.
comment that his comments. I have, with other utilities, I have an equal pay option, which basically they take your previous year and then they give you a bill every month for 1/12 of that. And then 1 month a year, they adjust it out either up or down, which does help with people that are budgeting to know that it's going to be this amount every month as opposed to the months where it jumps up like crazy and then it goes down to almost nothing. So I don't know if that's an option for the city or not, but it might address some people's ability to budget for the bill.
I don't know if we have the technology to administer that, but it is something we can look into.
Well, if we're talking to PGE about,
Yeah.
we could ask them how it works.
All right, moving on to our next topic. Over the last year, Peter and I have been talking about utility code changes and updates that we'd like to make. Major kudos to Peter, who went through and spent probably a lot of time going through and redrafting this that we put into your packets. So I'll hand it over to Peter to talk about a little bit of what those changes are.
Thanks, Mike. And I don't know if we'd really had very many conversations with the full budget committee on this. I know we've had a couple conversations over the last year with council, but I wanted to just sort of talk about, like, how did we get here? Why do you have a big packet of utility water code and what's happened? So I think it was back in September, almost a year ago, Mike and I came and met with council and we talked about some targeted utility code updates on chapter 1304, which is the water utility. And I think those were focused on some language around service lines and making, reducing some of the prescriptive nature as it related to billing, and like, you know, and late notices and things like that. I think we got some feedback there, and then we followed up with a meeting in February with some additional discussions on some policies. There was some discussions related to who should be the account holder, property, you know, is it the property owner, is it the tenant, some of those things, and some other improvements as it relates to billing. But then as we were going through this and I was looking at it, the code that we had is just really sort of old and it's hard to follow. It really didn't make a lot of sense. And it seemed to me that lots of things were missing from it. So this spring and into the summer, I've gone through the code and trying to put together a code that's more, it's a modernized code that better reflects like utility operations in the 21st century as opposed to water utility operations in 1950, right? So that's where we are, and this is that code that I provided in the packet. There's the draft code and then the current code, and then there's also a document in there that sort of references like what are some of the major changes from section to section and what are new sections in there. Go ahead to the next slide, Mike. As I was doing this, as Mike and I were doing this, you know, I think what was guiding this was we wanted to make sure we were being clear that we were defining, you know, both customer and city responsibilities, that we would be consistent and consistent help support consistent administration of our water utility and support that decision making. But also improve customer understanding of our utility requirements. Like when you look at it from the customer's perspective, in there, it really doesn't really talk a whole lot about conditions of service, what the customer's responsibilities are, what the city's responsibilities are in providing water. And then we also wanted to have some flexibility. So we tried to make it less prescriptive. You know, we tried to also reflect that we have a lot of technical requirements in our public works standards, so we're trying to move those technical components to the public works standards. And then we also wanted to make sure that it's, you know, it's going to help support a responsible long-term management of our municipal water system. So those were sort of like the principles as we went through to put this together. Next slide. So what are the major improvements? And I've got like 2 slides that really say the same thing. But this one here, the big part starting off is the organization. So I've built a couple different articles, sections in the code to make it a more logical structure and group those requirements that are related into those sections. And then we've separated sort of the policy pieces, the administrative and enforcement provisions. You know, that was one of the things that was really sort of lacking was enforcement. And I tried to look at what we've done with the tree code and trying to be consistent there in terms of how we enforce our code and added some language there. And just tried to make it sort of easier to navigate and reduce some duplication that also existed in the old code. You know, it also, I think, establishes clear conditions of service. So it, you know, clearly defines the requirements for initiating, maintaining, and discontinuing water services. And it consolidates those customer requirements I think it's a much easier to read section in the code than existed before. And then on the customer responsibilities, it provides a little bit better clarification on account ownership. There is some language in there about, the property owner is actually the responsible party, but the city may set up an account for a tenant if that's the path we want to go towards. It defines that responsibility for, the private service line and the customer's plumbing versus the city's piece of the service line.
Can I just ask a clarifying question? When you say the property owner is supposed to be, but you could go to the tenant being, you're saying on a case-by-case basis, or you're saying you want a decision made in this code?
The code provides flexibility
To do it, okay.
Yeah.
But the city would hold the property owner's info, but the individual bills would go to the tenant?
Yes.
Okay.
Presumably that would be in terms of maintaining the integrity of the system, the property owner's system, not paying the bills, right?
Well, I think the language in there suggests that the property owner is ultimately responsible for
Right.
the bill if it goes unpaid. So,
Oh, that the property owner would be responsible for the bill?
yeah, if it goes unpaid and if it goes to collections, it's ultimately the property owner's responsibility. And that's very similar to many other utilities, water utilities in the region.
Okay.
It also establishes, the obligations for the customer as it relates to access for maintenance and compliance and things like that. We have to do, testing for lead and copper and those types of things. And we often will have to sometimes go on to some properties to fix water meters and things like that. So it establishes some of those obligations there. On the administrative side, it updates some of the billing issues, corrections and things like that. We add some additional language in there as it relates to leak adjustments, shutoffs, and enforcement. And then as I've looked at this, I mentioned it earlier, we're trying to keep the policy and the code and the technical standards in our public works standards. So are trying to move those technical things to the public works standards and make that clear to developers and property owners. And then, I've also tried to improve consistency with other related utility chapters. So there's a section in there that, this code also taps into our drought and emergency water regulations, our cross-connection control ordinance, our utility assistance programs and those things as well. I will say, as I went through this and worked on this, and this is the draft, Justin certainly has to do some additional review on this document. But as I was looking at it and looking at the wastewater and the stormwater codes, I think there's additional work that we need to do there. As well as the utility assistance program code. There's some work there that we need to do to modernize those. So, any questions there?
So it's not coming to council next week?
Not coming to council next week. Why don't you go to the next?
So that means we can ask you questions about it over time, right?
I'll skip it.
Yes.
Will it be coming to the quack?
We could certainly bring it to the quack.
I mean, I'm just trying to figure out if there's an impact of this to what we do in terms of reviewing things. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we've not brought large utility code updates to quack before, but we haven't done large utility code updates in a while. So I certainly could see that as part of the path. It is a pretty large comprehensive document, so I think the more eyes that are on it, maybe the better it turns out in the long end. It could be something we have at our next meeting, discuss at the next quack meeting. Yeah, I've got a couple more things. Benefits. I think what we've put together, it's going to be easier to understand. It's a little more transparent. The responsibilities are clearer. And I think it provides some better consistency for customer service. I also think of what we're doing here as it relates to development. It's going to make it more predictable in terms of the review process of bringing things and making it clear what the policy is in the code and the technical standards and the public works standards will really help out there. We have these from time to time issues where there's been some fuzziness on service line requirements for developments. And, we're trying to point people in the right direction and clarify questions that developers have. And sometimes it feels like we're like sort of on the edge. So we're trying to fix those things. And then I think in terms of administering the code, it's gonna improve our efficiency in billing. The code's gonna be better organized, and it's, I think, maybe a much more durable framework for other policy updates and other codes as well. So, I do think I'd also say, as we've looked at this, I look at this as supporting our affordability goal. We're working to improve the policy framework that governs our municipal water system, which is sort of the basis for sending out our utility bills, right? So the update, I will say what it does not do. It's not going to increase our utility rates by doing by doing this utility code update. It's not establishing any new utility fees. It's not looking to generate additional revenue from this code or reduce any utility service levels. It's just clarifying responsibilities and how we administer our water utility. So.
Well, thanks for
Questions or
taking that
comments?
on. That sounds like it's been a big chore over the last few months. So I look forward to digging in.
Anybody? No? We don't, this is just informational.
Yes.
Thanks.
It's August, and we elect council.
Correct.
And I would like to say that I would like to bow out and defer to some of the younger members of our committee. So I believe the chair has to be one of the citizen members. Do you want to run, Will?
Yeah, I would
Okay,
like to be
somebody-
that.
I'm not going to nominate him because I'm still the chair, but somebody else could nominate him.
I nominate citizen member
William Johnson.
William Johnson for chair of the budget committee. I'm horrible with names. Great with faces.
Yeah,
though.
right.
I'll second.
Okay.
I forget my wife's name.
Call the dog name on occasion. Okay, we have a nomination and a second. Any discussion? Do you want to say something, William? No. Yeah, except that you're willing to do it. Yeah. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. So, can you take over at this point?
I would just give you kudos for, I think how long have you been the chair?
I don't recall.
No.
No.
Times,
Yes.
a few different decades. So.
Yes.
Well, I've been on the committee a few different decades, but I've only been the chair
Oh, really?
once,
Oh,
right?
You weren't the
Right.
chair the
No,
first
no,
time around.
David Ashenbrenner was. Yeah.
Can we give Leslie a round?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, so now we have to elect a vice chair. Do we have a nomination for vice chair?
I nominate Carrie Ann Schumacher.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries.
We didn't really ask, are you okay with that, by the way? You good with this?
It's been done. It's been done. Okay. Does anyone have any other business to bring before our body here today? Nope. In that case, I will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
I so motion.
We are still convening as the MRC?
No, these are budgeted, they're together. So it's the MRC and the Budget Committee.
A motion to adjourn the joint meeting of the Budget Committee and the MRC Commission Budget Committee. Okay,
I'll second that motion.
okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. I will note that we finished well before 8:30, you guys, so.
Well done, everyone. Thank you.
Big shoes to fill, William.